Hey, everyone, it's Jacole here. I'm back again. Sorry for saying that I was gonna make the 10 subscriber special. I'll probably be for tomorrow. I probably won't even make it. But if you couldn't already tell, if you didn't read the title of this video, you probably are very amused at the fact that I'm going to be reacting or reading a fan fiction. But not just any fan fiction, not a good one. This is probably going to be very bad for me. This is Dan and Phil and the hamster fic, the infamous hamster fic that I've heard so much about. And unfortunately, I am reading it. So, for the pleasure of my audience, I hate you. I hate you all. Alright, let's just get this over with. I want to kill you all so bad. Alright. Today started out like any other day would at the flat. I don't know what that is. Dan and I relaxed on the sofa, both scrolling through our Tumblr feed. Eventually I came across a picture of a small brown hamster. Dan, look at the little hamster. Dan peered over at my phone, sighed, and then went back to scrolling. What a cutie, Dan said sarcastically. Okay, I guess Dan is a dick to hamsters. I looked over at him and couldn't help but notice his curly brown hair. Dan was so adorable. I wish I had the guts to tell him how I felt. It's already going downhill. I shook my head and told myself that telling him wouldn't help anything. Shush up, Dan. I thought that hamster was adorable. Oh gosh, that reminds me. I have to go feed Thor. I don't know anything about Dan and Phil or if they actually have pet hamsters, so they probably do. Dan leaned back into the sofa crease as he obviously didn't care. Dan is a bit of a dick. I shrugged and walked down the hallway into my room and closed the door. As I walked over to Thor's cage, I realized that the cage door was open and Thor was gone. Thor was probably dead. I realized my window was open, so I screamed in terror as I thought I was having an existential crisis. Thor is probably dead. Without Thor, I had nothing other than Dan. You probably are better off with nothing other than having Dan. What if something had ate him? I think you mean to say, what if something had eaten him, not ate him? I would never forgive myself. Probably wasn't your fault. It was probably Dan. I opened the cage. I mean, I've had hamsters before in the past, and they've actually gotten out of their cage. Like, I have a custom-built cage. It's, like, built out of wood and glass. And there's, like a padlock on it. But I think somehow they still managed to escape, because one morning I was eating a bowl of cereal, and it was, like, pitch black. Like, it was still pretty dark out. Or dark in the kitchen, so I was just sitting at the table eating bowl of cereal. And I noticed there's this little black bulge just scurrying across the floor, and I'm like, oh, that's the fucking hamster, just walking like nothing happened. I'm still baffled as to how it got out of the cage and landed on the ground safely without hurting itself. But yeah, they've escaped on multiple occasions, but they didn't get very far without us finding them. They are some sneaky little fuckers. But they're dead now, because hamsters don't live for very long, so now I have that cage. It's just sitting in our basement, which sucks. So I don't have hamsters because they will die very quickly. Oh my god. Alright, back to the fan fiction. Alright, here we are. Hearing my scream, Dan rushed into my room in panic as he slammed my door open. Slammed my door open. For some reason, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. He spotted me hyperventilating on the floor. Instead of hyperventilating, you should try looking for the hamster. Phil, what happened? Are you okay? I never thought that Dan would be so worried about me. Although I was glad Dan cared, I still worried as I looked up to him. Thor is missing, I exclaimed in panic. Dan rolled his eyes as he knew I'd lost Thor before. See, there's your proof. Hamsters get out of their cages, and you usually end up finding them, or not. They could die. You never know. Dan rolled his. Alright, no. This is serious, Dan. He might not come back. The window was open. Phil, he's probably just under the couch again, Dan said carelessly. But the window. He cut me off as if he knew what I was going to say. Relax, Phil. You were definitely overanalyzing this. I looked up at him and realized he was right. I took a breath and nodded. Dan was so intelligent. He's found Thor under the couch the last 2 times he went missing. You're right, Dan. He'll be back eventually. Dan sighed. I'm going back to the lounge now. I'll let you know if I find Thor. Just breathe and try to relax. Dan left the room and went back to the lounge after he left. I let out my tears of worry and distress and realized he was right. I decided it was a good time to take a small nap. I hopped into bed and drifted off to sleep. About an hour later, I woke suddenly to the sound of Dan's screams. I rubbed my eyes and walked sleepily to the lounge to see what all the fuss was. Fuss was about. I gasped in relief as I saw Thor sitting upon Dan's shoulder. Dan, you found Thor. Help me, Phil. He's attacking me. Something's wrong with him. He probably fucking hates you, Dan. Probably heard all that commotion and just realized that you don't like him. Startled and confused, I took a closer look at the situation. Thor was growling and scratching Dan's neck violently. He seemed to have beady red eyes and teeth sharper than knives. He probably has fucking rabies. Should kill him. Dan was tried to pry him off Dan's bleeding neck and shoulder, but Thor was stronger than I imagined. It's a fucking hamster. They're so easy to kill. Like, really. Hurry, Phil. I'm trying. He won't let go. Just fucking shoot him. Or something. Do something, you fucking weakling. I mean, yeah, if a hamster bites you, it hurts like hell, but it won't kill you. And they're definitely not strong enough to hold on to someone. It wasn't long until Thor took a bite out of the most sensitive part of my body. My pinky. You know, the most sensitive part of my body is, never mind, scratch that. I jumped off the couch as my fingers started to bleed. Thor then bit into a vein on Dan's neck, jumped off his shoulder, and ran. Ouch. That bastard needs to be put down! Dan looked as if he was about to pass out, probably because of all the fucking blood he lost after being viciously attacked by a hamster. He swooned and started to swooned. Is that a word? Started to collapse. I ran to the couch as Dan fell onto my lap. He looked straight into my deep blue eyes and sighed with a smile. Phil, I think this might be the end for me. It probably is. Fucking weakling. Dan sat with a smile and a single tear running down his cheek. Dan, please, it was just a bite. Let me look. Dan's neck swelled and turned to a bright purple. Ouch. Color. Blood streamed from his vein, staining his black striped jumper. Felt his heart beat slower and slower by a second. Tears filled my eyes as Dan reached up and softly caressed my cheek. Oh no. I don't think I have much time, Phil. Call an ambulance! Why are you just sitting there? Just call a freaking ambulance. I stared intensely into Dan's eyes and attempted to hold back my tears. No, Dan, you just need a doctor. I can help. I picked up my phone and dialed the hospital. Finally. Fucking idiot. Phil, stop. I don't think that will help. Yes, it will, you idiot. They can take care of your wounds. Just please put down the phone and hold my hand. I could feel tears running down his cheek. Philip? He hadn't called me that in forever. Yeah, if I was called Philip, I'd probably kill myself. Yes, Dan, I have to tell you something. What is it? Dan smiled. Philip Michael Lester. I think it's time that I finally told you that. My heart dropped. You what? I love you, Phil. I love you too. No, Phil. More than just a friend. I want to grow old with you, go on adventures with you, and maybe start a family with you. You can't do that if you're both boys. I hate to say that. Paralyzed, I couldn't believe the words that came from his mouth. Saying nothing, I kissed him. I finally kissed him. I've waited years to do such a thing, and I never enjoyed something so much. I hope you realize that there is a wild hamster with rabies still in your house or apartment. I mean, where did the hamster go after this? Did it just, like, hop back into its cage and just chill? Like, I think, really, that the hamster just hated him. Because of all the mean things it said. I love you, Daniel. I love you more than I've ever loved anyone. I swear, this is getting, like, too lemony for me. Dan's smile grew larger as he shook his head. I've always dreamed this is how I die. With you looking over me, making me feel safe and at home. And although I might be dying, I've never felt more alive with you. This is getting sadder and sadder by the second. You can see the tears running down my cheeks. I wiped away my tears and smiled back. And you, Dan, and I said, I wanted to stay positive, and I could have done something. I could have saved him. Yeah, you could have called a fucking ambulance, or, tried to pry the hamster off him, dumbass. I will never stop loving you. We kissed once more as I sat up, and I quietly, still smiling, closed his eyes and gently, and I realized he was gone. Rip. Dan was really gone at this moment. Killed by a fucking hamster. You sad disgrace to humanity. Should have made myself more. I wish I could have warned him. You could have done something, Philip. I dropped the bench, shook my finger, and I crawled back up. Thor bit me, but Dan had passed through to a small light. Would I? I knew what I had to do. I picked up the phone and started down and hit me. I would die too. Yeah, he probably has rabies, idiot. Yep, that's it for the fucking video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and don't ever recommend me reading a fanfiction again. I will pick the fanfiction next time. A piece. And, gotta get shrifty.